Hey everybody, I'm really excited about this interview with Henri Furgiuele. She's our longest standing instructor, and we're going to talk about a wide range of miracles. Incredible things, and you'll understand more about slowing, stopping, and potentially even reversing the aging process. So much is possible with quantum touch, so welcome Henri Furgiuele. I'm thrilled today to have my friend and long-term associate, Henri Furgiuele, who has been teaching quantum touch longer than anyone else alive except for me. And she was our longest standing instructor in the company and has had a lot of incredible experiences. And I'm so excited to hear what she has to say. And I'm sure all of you would want to know as well. So welcome, Henri. And so glad to have you.
Thank you, Richard. I can't believe I feel like an antique. No, actually, 1997 is when I first picked up the advertisement and saw this guy I never saw before, and energy healing. You can learn how to do energy healing, quantum touch, and I thought, that sounds interesting. I won't be able to do it, but let's see what it is. And boy, did my life change.
It's so surprising to me that no one fails, that everybody learns. Now, when I started teaching, I said, everybody will be able to run the energy so powerfully. You can align posture with a light touch before lunch break on the first day or your money back. No one ever failed. A few people challenged and said, well, let me see if I can do it. And, well, yeah, I guess I can. One woman even got really disappointed because she failed at failing. She was hoping to get a refund.
Yeah. I think that was one of the classes of yours that I organized. And I think
that's right.
I remember her coming up and saying, this works. I can't get it not to work.
Yeah, exactly. She was very disappointed. It was kind of like, the bum was so bummed out he couldn't even find a gutter to lay down in.
This work, I tell you, will give you so many surprises, and you just have to, that's part of the joy of it,
Yeah. So what surprises, I know you've had like so many of them. There's work with health conditions, there's work with infants, there's work with emotions, there's work with all kinds of stuff. What stands out to you like right off the top as being a surprise?
Well, when the very aggressive snake stopped aggressing and start looking at me very calmly. And
so tell me the story. How did you meet the snake?
In Australia.
Were you hiking?
Yeah, I was. And there was I suddenly saw this thing. It looked like a belt, and I thought, wow, that's a leather belt. And then I realized that it was the tail of a snake. And so I started running energy, and just, because, I'm like everyone else. Oh, snake, I should go in the other direction. But the more I started to run energy, every time I exhaled and ran the energy, the tail would vibrate on my exhale.
Wow.
So I thought, well, I'll just do it without, offer the energy without doing a lot of big breathing and see if it makes a difference. And it was still happening. And the next thing I know, the head, which I hadn't seen before, turned around, and it's like the snake went, what's this? And looked at me, and eye to eye, where, well, there's about a meter apart, the snake and I are calm and exchanging energy, and tears are going down my face because this is so beautiful. And it's like this creature has let me in, and like that.
Yes, well, this little snake just passed across the screen.
And nature really will, I love it. So anyway, that, and someone else came and the snake charged off. But it was amazing. For about 10 minutes, we just had the most incredible
So for
exchange.
10 minutes, you and the snake are just connected.
just connected. And it was so beautiful. It was like I felt I met a friend. I am not a snake person, so this was a shock. Let me tell you, it was a real shock.
So what were you doing before you learned about quantum touch?
Well, I've been doing a lot of other kinds of experimenting with raw foods. I worked for um, no, don't want all these names that aren't there. But raw foods, and I worked at Hippocrates Health Institute with Ann Wigmore, and
Yes.
I did a bunch of other kinds of fasting. I would do a couple of 40-day fasts, and stuff like that. But I really
Cleansing.
didn't
Yeah.
do workshops, and I had no idea what hands-on healing were. What started you into hands-on healing? That's because
Well, what
I
started
have.
me was that I went to a doctor. I had a lot of symptoms, and he said, "Yeah, you got a lot of things wrong: skin, lung, intestines, and some other stuff." He said, "But nothing's bad enough to treat yet. So why don't you wait till you get worse, and then I'll give you something."
Oh, I
And
love that.
so I then went to a holistic health school in New Mexico, and they brought in a couple of instructors from California were doing something called polarity therapy. And I was blown away because that morning I remember feeling so bad I didn't even want to talk, which is not like me. And this woman gives me a session, and in an hour, it made me go from feeling my worst to feeling my best. And I became obsessed learning about it. And I wrote my first book on polarity therapy called Your Healing Hands, which was a bestseller throughout the 1980s. And a few months before that book came out, I met Robert Rasmussen, who showed how to not just use the energy passively, like polarity therapy or Reiki or many other modalities do. We're just waiting for the energy to do something. He's bringing it. He's doing the breathing and body awareness and amping up the energy. And I was seeing things that just made my jaw drop. I didn't even think these things were possible. And so I evolved the work in his retirement and made it quantum touch today, which is what we know and love now.
For sure. That I knew the part about Robert Rasmussen, and I knew you were involved with polarity, and of course, I have the book, Your Healing Hands. It's a great book. But I never knew the part that you weren't well. That was the trigger. That's often the way, isn't it?
You
That's
know,
something in us.
a lot of people will be interested in metaphysics and spirituality because either their health is going bad, their finances aren't well, or their relationships suck, and they
Mhm.
want to know something that's going to help heal them and fix it and make things better. So they have that inspiration to go beyond and learn something else. And so the motivation is I want to change something
Yeah.
and grow. And that's often what triggers people to get started. But once they discovered the spirituality that lies beneath this thing, then they realized that it was a miracle that they had these problems because it helped them open up to who they really wanted to become.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the whole nature of healing is that we actually attract or create these problems in order to grow. But they don't look good when they first come into the scene. They look like, oh, it's just a problem. But you realize how many thousands of times have we heard people's stories saying, without this tragedy, I would never become the person that I am today.
Yeah. That's the dark miracle.
It's the dark miracle. That's a
Mhm.
term I'm
Ooh, sorry, I shouldn't have I I
something
use
I'm
it a lot.
coining and will be
Mhm.
using more and more is the concept of dark miracles. That when the shit happens, you realize, oh my God, here's a miracle in progress, just getting started. But generally, people turn away from it and push it away, and they don't want to feel it or deal with it or acknowledge it. But it's actually the beginning of something fantastic if you can learn how to heal, transform, and transcend those issues.
And I think energy healing is so wonderful for so much of the population, but there are times when it seems like energy just ain't enough. What the heck are we going to do? And that's what I go to self-created health for.
Yeah. Self-created health, for those who don't understand or know about it, was the realization that energy healing will probably remove symptoms better than 90% of the time.
Mhm.
It'll improve the symptoms. It won't always get rid of the thing, but it will improve things. In fact, we did a pain study recently with 41 people with 50 high-level pain conditions. And all 50 pain conditions from arthritis, fibromyalgia, and accidents responded to a single session with an average of 67% reduction of pain. That's pretty good by any standards.
Yeah.
However, that's not necessarily dealing with a causative level, and it doesn't necessarily mean that those sessions are going to resolve the problem. It will provide a lot of relief, but it took me many years to find the self-created health system in
Mhm.
its entirety, which is how to discover the emotional cause, then process and release those emotions. So not only do the symptoms disappear, but the people feel intensely, overwhelmingly grateful for having had the condition because it showed how they had stopped loving. And the subtext is the body has the ability to be sick, not as a dysfunction, but a communication from their higher consciousness on how they stop loving. So it is an incredible gift for people to be able to access this work and to be able to use it because it is the most important life-changing thing I think we can do.
Mhm. And it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or whether you're, 75, you can use this. It's relevant. It works for your now situation, whatever you find. And mm, it's a
Well,
gift.
yes. So let's get back to that later. So you've worked with a lot of conditions, I imagine, over the
Mm,
years. Have
mm.
you ever worked with, a lot of people don't think the tumors would respond to energy. Have you ever worked with tumors?
My first experience working with tumor was day one of my first day as a student of quantum touch.
But wait, you're not supposed to be good on the first day. Come on.
I wasn't good, but the person receiving the energy was very good because
Okay, that works.
my very, very poor way of running the energy, because I had no idea what I was doing at that point, even though this technique is simple, but I had a lot of mental baggage, like, oh, I have to
Yeah.
perform, or I have to do well, or what if nothing happens? So when I finally relaxed and allowed the energy to actually move and got out of my own way, which is the hardest part of quantum touch, just get out of your own way. Um, what happened was that the person I was working with had a tumor. She was an RN, and so she very much was aware of what was there. And I said, "Would you work in this area?" And I went, "What do you expect me to do with that?" Which
Yeah.
is, beginner's question, right?
Right.
And but I just finally let myself relax a little bit, and within actually about 10 minutes, I said, "Where was this thing again?" And she said, "Oh, it's right. Excuse me." And she turned away and she probed. I can't feel it. And so
So the tumor just disappeared?
the tumor went away. It went away.
Wow. I mean, how exciting on your first day to see a
Mm.
tumor disappear. I guess that's one of those sparks that gets you excited about the work.
Actually, it didn't.
Okay, what
I
happened
still had
next?
no I had no, I thought, oh, well, she's amazing, but I have no confidence that I can do it. So I
Yeah.
went home and I wasn't even sure I was going to come back on the next day for the day two of the class. But I'm sitting there because I have no confidence. So I had all the hangups you have that get in your own way. That was what was happening with me. But I'm sitting there reading my notes and I guess relaxing really deeply for the first time. And as I'm reading the notes, I started to do the work unconsciously, actually. I was this breathing. Okay. So I started to do the breathing and then, and it says connect to your heart. And okay, well, okay. And then as I did it, the next thing I know, my whole body is warm. It was the middle of winter and I was warm. My eyeballs were warm. The room was cold, but my eyeballs were warm. My whole body was just so comfortable. And I went, what's going Oh, I'm coming back for day two. So that was my shock.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it was
Well, I'm
extraordinary.
glad
I
you
think
did.
Yeah, me too. It changed my life, really, in so many ways. And and I have you to thank for. And I remember thinking, distant healing can't be really possible. This is just, some delusion. And you and I had an issue in my past from being in the incubator, and I wanted to work with it. And I kept stalling, and you kept saying, work with these issues, work with your past. Don't be shy about it. And so I actually did it. And again, another life shock.
So what? Okay, so you were in an incubator as an infant, and
Hmm.
then you did some healing toward the infant, right?
Hmm.
What happened?
It's going to sound weird.
Go ahead, tell me. I want to know.
um, well, what happened was I was in an incubator and everyone was so hygiene conscious that no one touched me other than with gloves for weeks.
Yeah,
And so when I went on raw food and, fasting and all this, I started having memories come up of that time. And there were no thoughts in my head, but I could hear the motor. I could feel the temperature and the air and the smell. It was all sensory from that time. So, um, and it was really barren, empty. So I thought, what can I do with this part? I mean, I can't change my history, right? So
well, that's
you kept saying, work with it, work with it. So I decided I'm going to, go in now with bare hands, and I'm going to stick my hands into the neonatal intensive care and put a hand under my back, on my chest, and run energy.
yeah,
And so that was my plan, and that's what I did. I did it every day for about 3 weeks for a half hour. And I had, it's not going to do any good, but I'm going to try it. So I say I did it. That was my attitude. I
yeah.
wasn't a good student, Richard.
Surprise,
I was
surprise, huh?
not a good student. But so I did it. And the first day when I did it, I got a mental image of me as a baby, and I was like frozen and blue and literally like a block of ice. And I went, I don't know what this means, but I did it anyway. So I kept running the energy. Every day, the ice thawed and the baby started to move. And my own inner, sounds a little weird, but my own intelligence inside, that deep part of me that knows who you are at levels you can't see, was giving me this feedback that something was making a difference because I couldn't feel it anywhere else. And so for 3 weeks, and the baby then suddenly was in my arms, and she was smiling and happy, and I'm rocking her, running energy, and this is baby me, it's
Yeah, yeah.
pretty amazing. And at the end of the 3 weeks, at the end, that was my assignment I gave myself. Um, I looked, and there's this beautiful gold energy around her, and she looks at me and she big smile. So I went, okay, done. And I thought that was the end of it. But weird things started happening. People kept giving me, "Did you go on vacation?" No. My, you look rested. What's different? And family would, something would happen. They would say, "Are you sick?" I went, "No. Why?" He said, "You didn't get mad. Why didn't you get mad at that thing that just happened? Why are you now calm?" And all these other changes started happening. So about 6 months later, I'm doing quantum touch and meditating, and I get all these things that people said, this cascade of little comments, and this came from that energy work. I went, holy crap!
Wow.
I had no
So,
idea.
so all kinds of
Change,
personality
yeah.
shifts happened within you. You know, I had a very similar experience. I was thinking about where could I run the energy to, and I thought, well, infants are never held enough. I think you and I spoke about the Continuum
I think
Concept
we
book.
did. Love
What
that
a
book.
beautiful book. Anyway,
Thank
so I was thinking, you know what? I know I didn't get held enough as a child. So I thought, well, let me just hold the baby Richard in my arms, and I held him and just held him close and ran the energy. And within 3 or 5 seconds of doing this, I felt something that I've never before or after felt in my life. I felt every vertebra in my spine ripple. It moved
Really?
all the way from the bottom of my spine to the top, and like as if they all moved like a half an inch, went all the way to the top. What was that? And I felt like I lost consciousness for like a split second, and then came back. Go, am I in a different reality?
Mhm.
It all looks the same, but it was
Yeah.
like I was like this blackout for like a fraction of a second as I'm like reset the computer, hit the reset button
Yeah.
and was reset. Now I can't say specifically what changed in my life, but I know it was significant because my body would not have experienced that had it not been an important or significant thing that had just occurred.
Mm. That sounds amazing. Did you go back and do more of that?
No, I just thought it was. I
Whoops.
tried it a couple other times. I didn't really feel anything,
Yeah.
and I didn't really stick with it. But
Yeah.
I think it's a really fascinating thing to work on and to explore. In my last book, The Secret Nature of Matter, I did something so stupid,
What?
but it worked. And I tried running energy into a physical object to see if it would work as if I had done a session on a person, and I could see physical, tangible results. So it led me to a whole series of experiments, but only by trying something kind of a little crazy or wacko
Mhm.
was I able to come up with something like run energy into yourself as an infant. I mean, it's a little wacko from the mainstream perspective of
Mhm.
linear reality and material expression and everything having to have a known mechanism. Once you blow those out of the water, well, all bets are off. We have a level of freedom that we didn't know possible.
You certainly do. And I can tell you, when I met Quantum Touch,
Yeah.
before I knew it, I was so empathic that I really had made a little bit of a recluse of myself. I was
Yeah.
functioning in the world, but really limiting my engagement with a lot of people. I'd have to leave you know, Quantum Touch changed all that. I understood how to work with my energy in ways, it helped me. It got me started on the road to grounding myself. And I fly all over the place. I teach in the most crowded cities in the world,
And
and I have no
you've been
problem.
to Tokyo many times. You've been to Korea. You're going to be teaching in China,
I have been, yeah, I've taught,
Hawaii.
yeah, Hong Kong and Australia. Yeah, so right now I'm actually in Tokyo. I've just finished teaching 4 quantum touch workshops. So um,
Wow,
it's great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So exciting to see this work get out into the world. China is our fastest growing part of the world now. And
Hmm.
part of the reason is that the people there believe in qi, the life force energy, the prana,
Hmm.
whatever word
Yes.
we use for it. And they know that qigong is real, but they
Hmm.
also know it takes 20, 30, 40 years to become proficient and powerful at it. And here in a weekend, we get everybody up to speed where they're seeing miracles going
Hmm.
on. And so
Hmm.
they're going, oh, you mean I could actually learn a form of Qigong that
Hmm.
does not take many, many years
Hmm.
and doesn't have a lot of philosophy behind it. Because one of
Yeah.
the things about quantum touch is it's just breathing, body awareness, love, and intention. It isn't about you have to apprentice and then you have to believe these belief systems. Believe whatever you like, but you do love and you do care. And so let's
Hmm.
focus the energy, amplify the energy,
Hmm.
project the energy, but we don't have an ideology, a religion, or an agenda. We're just
Hmm.
here to give people those experiences of
Hmm.
accelerated self healing.
Yes. And one of the things that I learned from quantum touch that I'd never encountered the idea about is that within each of us is this innate intelligence that is not just book smart. It's much deeper than that. It encompasses your whole energy field in terms of what you think, what you feel, and your spiritual sense of self or spark of the divine, if you believe in the divine. And all of that gets reflected in the body. So it's this innate wisdom that we're tapping into that is already us. It's already here. We're not going out there for something. It's saying, oh, you were here all along. It's like a bank account we now are tapping into that we've had all along but never used. You know?
Well, when you think about it, modern medicine is only stimulating or suppressing cells. The cells have to heal themselves. And how do they do that? They have an innate intelligence. If you cut your finger, you know that finger is going to heal itself. Well, how did you do that? How did you get the skin and the nerves and the blood vessels and everything else inside there to heal? Well, it's beyond intellectual capacity to understand the thousands of changes taking place within each of the billions of cells to understand how you actually caused the healing. That's innate intelligence that operates the entire system. So what quantum touch ultimately does is it utilizes that life force energy, which is in touch with that innate intelligence. So if you could raise the energy high enough, which is what we're doing with the breathing and body awareness, then the innate intelligence is stimulated. So I have this idea that all degeneration is a form of entropy. In fact, Aubrey de Grey, he's a famous scientist who studied aging, has talked about the 7 pathways of entropy in the body. In other words, 7 ways that we age the cells, whether it's DNA damage or toxicity or whatever. There's a whole series of them. We don't have to go into them. But the point is, it's all entropy. But I believe that all healing is the opposite of entropy. Some call it negentropy or syntropy. Now, my idea is if you can get the vibration high enough, the body will slow, stop, and potentially even reverse the aging process.
For sure. I've seen that. When we do healing sessions, when we offer the energy for someone, for a client, or when we're practicing with students in class, sometimes it's as if these masks of gray just peel away and the skin becomes luminous. And it's really not hard to understand why, because life energy is what we're working with, and life is what vitalizes everything and everyone. So it's so fun to see. And especially, I teach a lot in Asia. Asian skin is beautifully expressive in this way.
Yes.
I mean, someone will walk in and they'll look like they've had a rough, 5 decades, and they walk out of there and you realize, oh my gosh, they're really only 30, and they show it and the step changes. It's really fun.
Did you ever see that video I put up on YouTube called the Quantum Touch Smile?
Did you put it up there? I didn't see it. I know I sent you some
Yeah, it
images.
was years ago. But here's what happened. We had this woman at a workshop I taught in Nevada City. And as people walked into the workshop, she'd say, smile, and she'd take their photograph with the big, happy, welcome smile. And then we had sessions with 2, 3 people working on one person. And she took photographs of them when the sessions were over. And I compared the pictures of the before smile with the overwhelming bliss smile and the total relaxation. It's like night that happened with them.
I love it. But the beautiful thing about this energy is that intelligence is making the choices. Where does this,
Where
where's
the
the
energy
smile
needs to go,
where
yes.
where is it going? Where is it applying? And what needs the lift? And sometimes it's your mood, and sometimes it's your body, your physical state, and sometimes it's your wallet. In
Yeah,
our
it
workshops, we
goes.
run energy in the billfold, as part of the fun exercise, one of the things. But people are laughing and they're giggling, and I've had so many comments from students after we did that exercise. Somebody sent me money. I'd lent the money and I'd forgotten, and all these things. So it works.